Billionaire panics without a translator, until the waitress saves the $1,000,000 deal. Have you ever judged someone by their uniform, only to discover they were the smartest person in the room? Before we begin, subscribe to the channel because every story here reminds us that kindness, courage, and hidden talent can change a life forever. The grand ballroom of the Royal Crescent Hotel shimmered beneath crystal chandeliers as CEOs, investors, and diplomats gathered for what many called the most important international business meeting of the year. At the center of it all stood billionaire entrepreneur Adrian Cole, a man famous for closing impossible deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. His newest opportunity was a partnership with a powerful Japanese technology company that could transform the future of renewable energy. Months of planning had led to this single afternoon, but just minutes before negotiations began, disaster struck. Adrian's professional translator was rushed to the hospital after suffering a severe allergic reaction during lunch. Panic spread through the conference room. No replacement translator could arrive in time because every qualified interpreter in the city was already booked for international events. Executives whispered nervously. Lawyers checked their watches. Representatives from Japan remained polite but clearly confused as conversations became fragmented. Adrian felt something he had not experienced in years: fear. He understood only a few basic Japanese greetings, nowhere near enough to negotiate contracts involving patents, intellectual property, and investment terms worth over $1 billion. Canceling the meeting would almost certainly destroy months of trust. The Japanese delegation had flown across the world for this opportunity, and postponing it could easily be interpreted as disrespect. Adrian stared helplessly at the contract on the table as precious minutes slipped away. Across the room, a young waitress named Emily quietly served coffee and bottled water. She had worked at the hotel for nearly 3 years after abandoning her dream of becoming a linguistics professor when her father became seriously ill. Medical bills forced her to leave graduate school and work double shifts instead. Most guests barely noticed her except to ask for another cup of coffee. As she refilled glasses near the conference table, she overheard fragments of Japanese conversation. Instantly, she realized the visiting executives were becoming concerned because they believed the meeting had been cancelled without explanation. Emily hesitated. She knew fluent Japanese, English, and Mandarin after years of studying languages at university, but interrupting billionaires seemed unimaginable. She continued serving drinks, hoping someone else would solve the problem. Nobody did. Adrian rubbed his forehead while his legal team desperately searched their phones for emergency translators. Every passing minute made the atmosphere heavier. Finally, Emily gathered her courage. She politely approached Adrian's assistant and quietly explained that she could speak Japanese fluently if temporary help was needed. The assistant almost laughed, assuming the waitress was exaggerating. But with no alternatives remaining, Adrian reluctantly agreed to test her. He spoke a complicated business sentence, and Emily translated it into flawless Japanese without hesitation. The Japanese executives immediately smiled in surprise before responding with equally complex terminology. Emily translated every word back into English with remarkable accuracy. Silence filled the room. The billionaire's legal advisors stared at each other in disbelief. Adrian realized the quiet waitress standing beside the coffee station possessed exactly the expertise that could save the entire negotiation. Within moments, Emily found herself seated beside the billionaire instead of serving refreshments. She remained calm despite dozens of skeptical eyes watching her every move. The meeting finally began. She translated not only the words but also the cultural nuances that often determined whether negotiations succeeded or failed. When one executive used an indirect phrase that sounded uncertain in English, Emily explained that it actually represented strong interest according to Japanese business etiquette. That single clarification prevented a serious misunderstanding. As discussions continued, Adrian became increasingly impressed. Emily anticipated confusing expressions before they caused problems and respectfully explained traditions surrounding hierarchy, honor, and decision-making. The atmosphere transformed from nervous uncertainty into genuine collaboration. The Japanese delegation became visibly more relaxed because they felt understood rather than merely translated. Hours passed as contracts, pricing models, manufacturing timelines, and environmental commitments were discussed with exceptional precision. Still, the biggest challenge had yet to arrive. Near the end of the meeting, the lead Japanese executive introduced one unexpected condition that threatened to collapse the entire agreement. Everyone turned toward Emily as she carefully listened, knowing that her next translation might determine the future of a billion-dollar partnership. The waitress who changed everything. The room became perfectly silent as Emily translated the unexpected condition. The Japanese company wanted exclusive manufacturing rights in Asia for the first 5 years, while Adrian's legal team believed such exclusivity would severely limit future expansion. Tension instantly returned. Lawyers whispered urgently. Financial advisors shook their heads. Adrian feared the negotiation had reached a dead end despite Emily's incredible help. But instead of translating mechanically, Emily respectfully asked permission to explain something she had learned during her years studying Japanese business culture. She revealed that the delegation's request was less about control and more about protecting their reputation. In their culture, entering a partnership carried enormous responsibility. They simply wanted enough time to prove the project's success before competitors copied the technology. Adrian listened carefully. Rather than rejecting the condition outright, he asked Emily to help propose an alternative. She suggested a 3-year exclusivity period combined with performance milestones that rewarded both companies if sales targets were exceeded. The Japanese executives quietly discussed the proposal among themselves. After several tense minutes, the delegation leader smiled warmly and accepted the revised arrangement. A wave of relief swept through the conference room. The billion-dollar partnership had been saved, not by an expensive consultant or famous executive, but by a humble waitress whom almost everyone had ignored just an hour earlier. When the final signatures were placed on the contracts, applause filled the ballroom. Adrian stood up, walked across the room, and publicly thanked Emily before every executive, journalist, and investor present. He admitted that without her intelligence, courage, and professionalism, the deal would have failed. Cameras flashed as reporters captured the unexpected moment. Emily blushed with embarrassment because she had never sought recognition. She had simply wanted to help. After the guests departed, Adrian invited her into his private office. Instead of thanking her with a small bonus, he surprised her with an extraordinary offer. He asked her to become Director of International Communications for his global company, complete with a salary that was nearly 10 times her hotel income, full educational sponsorship to complete her master's degree, and the freedom to build an international language training division. Emily was speechless. Tears filled her eyes as she explained why she had left university years earlier to care for her father. Adrian quietly listened before promising that her talent deserved every opportunity the world could offer. She accepted the position with gratitude, knowing that one courageous decision had completely changed the direction of her life. Several months later, the renewable energy partnership became one of the most successful international collaborations in recent history. Thousands of new jobs were created, cleaner technology reached communities around the world, and the company's value increased dramatically. Yet Adrian often said that the greatest investment he had ever made was believing in someone others overlooked. Emily completed her graduate degree while leading negotiations across Europe and Asia, earning respect from diplomats, scientists, and executives alike. Whenever she visited hotels during business trips, she always greeted every server, receptionist, and cleaner with genuine kindness because she never forgot where her own journey had begun. Her story spread across social media and business magazines, inspiring millions to recognize that uniforms do not define intelligence, and opportunities often arrive disguised as ordinary moments. The conference where a billionaire nearly lost everything became famous instead as the day a waitress proved that courage and preparation can change destiny forever. If this story touched your heart, remember its powerful lesson. Never underestimate anyone based on their job title, appearance, or background. Hidden talent exists everywhere, waiting for one chance to shine. And sometimes, the person serving coffee today may become the person leading the future tomorrow. If you believe kindness, humility, and courage still matter in this world, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that every person deserves respect. Your support helps us continue bringing inspiring stories that restore hope, one unforgettable journey at a time.